Hello, today I have with me Tessa Rawson. Good morning, Tessa. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Andrew. Nice to be here.
Yeah, appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to chat with me. Tessa is a public speaking coach, which I think is a really cool thing to be able to offer to people. It's not something that comes naturally to most. Um, and I think it's pretty obvious when you think about it for a moment how beneficial that could be for entrepreneurs, especially first gen entrepreneurs. So, we're going to dig in a little bit with Tessa today and learn more about her and what she does and how that can benefit people. And then kind of go from there. So, Tessa, to get things started, as is tradition, I'm going to ask you to give us your best elevator pitch in 60 seconds or less. So, if we're perfect strangers on an elevator and I said, Tessa, what do you do? Go.
All right. I am a public speaking and communication coach. Public speaking is one of the most widespread phobias that people acknowledge. It's up there with spiders and heights. And I think that's because most people think of public speaking as standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people. But we all actually public speak every day with clients, with colleagues, in interviews, with investors. If you want to try and persuade the legislator, it's any time that you talk about or advocate for yourself and your business. So I think that building the skills of public speaking can have a huge impact on your success in your business. And I also really believe that everyone can be an incredible public speaker. You have all the tools to communicate. I just come in and help you find the ways to take all of your natural skills and feel confident standing on the stage or delivering them in front of other people. So I've been organizing TEDx events for about 10 years and helping people who don't necessarily think of themselves as speakers get out there and share incredible presentations is what I absolutely love to do. So the work that I do is helping people find that TED idea and go through the application process to stand on the stage and deliver it. But I also work with leaders and entrepreneurs to take those same skills, the storytelling techniques that help them be more effective and confident as speakers in every area of their business.
Awesome. Awesome. Very
Did I
nice.
get under 60 seconds?
Nope, not quite, but that's all right. I have a minute and about 18 seconds. So that's all right. Well,
Good stuff.
it'll be a small penalty you'll have to pay afterward, but
It was a big building.
yeah. But I think you're absolutely right. Like whether you realize it or not, you're public speaking all the time, you know. And just trying to convey ideas or convey what you do or convince someone to buy from you or just so many different facets. Like this is a core skill that people, if you can hone it and improve it's going to have a big long-term impact on your business, I imagine.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to jump ahead of you. Let's get into these 3 questions that you've provided me, and we'll get a little more meat on the bone as to how this applies. So the first question, why is public speaking important for entrepreneurs?
So I think like you just mentioned, we public speak all the time, whether we think about it like that or not. We are always, particularly as entrepreneurs, engaging with colleagues, or your network, with customers. There's the need to sell. There's the need to possibly get investment. There's the need to work around and within your business environment, your community environment, and you're always communicating with people as to what you do. And when, as an entrepreneur, I feel like there's that added pressure that how you communicate your business is directly impacting the success of your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we think about public speaking skills, it's not just the standing on the stage and delivering a presentation. It's how do you use those skills of engagement, of making what you do accessible and understandable, and showing through a narrative how what you do could impact someone else is really powerful. And so I always try to help people think of public speaking as it's an extension of how you communicate already, but it's trying to get past that natural barrier that a lot of people have between communicating one-on-one, which feels very natural, and suddenly being in front of a group, whether that's a networking event or on a sales call where all of a sudden you're not communicating as an equal on the same platform. You feel like you're removed because you're trying to achieve something, right? It's like public speaking is regular communication, but you have a purpose at the end of it, which is either to share information or to get a sale or to try and build trust and credibility and all those things. And so as soon as we have that added pressure of a goal for the conversation, we get nervous. We get in our head. Am I communicating this well? Am I getting my point across? Am I too pushy? Am I not telling them what I actually do? And so I feel like being able to have the confidence of knowing what you want to say, how you want to say it in different aspects of your role can make all of those interactions so much easier and so much more natural.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And like, if you think about someone who's really not good at public speaking, like, and you meet them on an elevator,
Yeah,
as an example, and you ask them what they do, if they don't have the ability to communicate that effectively, what are the odds that you're gonna do business with them?
right.
You know, and then that's just a small example on an elevator, but to your point, you're communicating all day every day with prospects and with clients and with employees and with all these things. If you're a bad communicator, it just doesn't seem likely that you're going to be a successful entrepreneur.
Right.
And if you're average, then great, but if you can go from average to good or really good, it's like that's going to have a long-term impact on the outcome of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fascinating how many people you meet. And I'm sure you've had this, that you'll have a coffee meeting with someone and they do their quick elevator pitch. And it might even take 5 minutes and you get to the end of it and you go, I have no idea what you do.
Yeah, that's no good.
Right.
That's not good at
It's really challenging because what they do might be incredible, but it's just finding, and it's not that they can't do it well, it's just articulating it in a way that connects with a specific audience. Is it someone who's in your business? Is it a complete stranger? You know, how can you reframe and rephrase what you do in a way that makes it accessible to all sorts of different people?
hmm And it seems like with just a little bit of planning, a little bit of coaching, a little bit of intent,
Mhm.
you can really bump the quality up quite a bit, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's get into our next one then. So, what is leadership storytelling, and why is that important?
So leadership storytelling, I like to think of as the kind of the flip side of public speaking, of standing on the stage and sharing everything that you do, your TED idea, with this wonderful narrative and story that you've come up with to help communicate your ideas. And it takes those same techniques and inserts them back into your day-to-day communication, kind of like we're talking about from the entrepreneurship level, but maybe more in a corporate environment, or if you have a team below you. Because we all connect as human beings, right? Our
Mhm.
decision making process is entirely governed by our relationships, right? By our gut instincts, by our feelings, which are part of the kind of the limbic part of the brain, which is nothing to do with logic and rationality.
Right.
So whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're a manager or a leader in your business somewhere, you need to be able to tap into that to make the connections and relationships within your business that are going to get the team to evolve in the way that you want them to follow your leadership, to be able to build the trust and loyalty and credibility and all those things which make for a successful business. They come back to having a human connection. And I think so many of us, particularly if we've had a very corporate background, we communicate in a professional, quote unquote, sense, right? It's all business, it's all facts, it's all information. But leadership storytelling are techniques to either use personal anecdotes, you know, to help create connection, but also how do you take your facts and your information in your PowerPoint presentation in your weekly team meeting and turn them into something that's engaging and accessible and a place that people feel part of a conversation rather than being told what to do and what to feel. So it's all of those techniques that we use to make us feel something and using them in our day to day.
And that makes sense too, because you think about like leadership and I don't know, Hollywood movies and things, like the stories that are being told motivate people. And that's a big part of what you're trying to do as an entrepreneur. If it's your own team, your employees, you need to lead, you need to motivate. And by telling good stories, you can really get some of the bigger personalities and brands, you know, they've got these people that are so loyal to that cause or to that company or whatever. that can really make or break the difference between having the kind of energy to get over that hump to be successful in your business.
Right. Like, how do you get through change? You get through change by understanding why it's happening. And you only understand why it's happening if someone explains it to you, right? If they take the time to provide the narrative around what's going on. And your Hollywood analogy one is an interesting one. I lean on that sometimes, in that if you think of a movie with a big fight scene, right? Think of like Lord of the Rings. There's a giant battle. It takes like a half hour. But they don't spend half an hour just chopping off heads doing a body count, right? That's not a story. That's information. Like, this team won, that team lost, right? You zoom into the children in the cave who were crying. You zoom into the horse that's lying in the mud. That's the story, right? It's all the other stuff that's going around that builds the feeling of the battle. It's not the body count, right? And that, I feel like that's sometimes a way of thinking about what are you sharing, and what do you want the impact to be, or what do you want to, your team to feel around that decision?
Right. Yeah. Well put. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to our third and final question then. And this one's kind of juicy. I like it. How do I get a TED Talk?
Right. My all-time most asked question. So I like the place that I start is that when you think of a TED Talk, TED is 2 events. It's TED in Vancouver in the spring. It's TED Women in the fall. They have a few others that change year to year. Most TED Talks that you see on TED.com are all from independently organized TEDx events. So when people think, how do you get a TED Talk? That's really what they're thinking about. You get invited to TED when you're already a really well-known speaker, right? So if you want to do a TEDx, first of all, you have to have a great idea. It doesn't have to be necessarily world-changing, but your perspective needs to be unique. You need to be coming at it from somewhere new, somewhere in innovative, right? Mm-hmm. And then the idea has to be great. You have to be telling in a different way. You have to tell it in an engaging way. You also have to find something that hasn't really been looked at before, right? Why is this going to be interesting to a TED audience? And then once you have your idea and you have it crystal clear and you know exactly what you want to talk about, there's a whole application process that involves being able to take this wonderful big idea and crystallize it down to one sentence, right? I always say, if you can't say it in a tweet, you don't know what it is yet. That's your nugget, because when you're applying and an organizer, someone like me, gets 300 applications, I'm looking at that first sentence. What's this idea? Is it unique? Have I heard it before? Whoa, that's a really cool perspective. I don't have time to read through pages of applications. So you've got to be able to say it in a sentence and then in a paragraph. If someone goes, oh, that's interesting. And then be able to articulate why you, right? Why are you the person to give this talk? And then you got to apply. And every application, there are over 3,000 TEDx events every year.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot out there. There's a ton of opportunity, but they all have different application processes. So it's getting your application strategy honed and then just finding those events and going to click apply and dropping all the answers to those standard questions into the application.
And what's the impact for people once they've given a TED Talk? Like what kind of things do you see happen for them afterwards?
So TED is really interesting in that it is probably the biggest currency there is in public speaking, right? It has this incredibly well-known brand. You can call yourself a TED speaker or a TEDx speaker, and that has clout. And that
elevates you.
Totally. It's really, really powerful. And the thing that's really interesting about TED, and they've stayed very true to this over their 30-year history, there's no selling from the stage. Every now and then you feel there's a very little gentle nudge. You can tell there's a product or a service in there somewhere. But most of the time they focus on ideas, and we love ideas, right? And so the value of doing a TED Talk is being able to take your regular pitch and bring it back down to that core idea as to why you do what you do. And I think the process of doing a TED Talk, or even if you don't actually make it to the stage, but the process of going through taking what you believe and your big vision and making it into something that's just about the idea behind it, the why, right? That's really powerful to help people then be able to articulate that to their clients as they go forward. Sure, you can put the video on your webpage.
Right.
You did this, but it also, I think, is really great to bring you back to, why do you do what you do? Why do you care about it?
Right. Which now all of a sudden is like the fact that you gave a TED Talk, that's icing on the cake.
Right.
Now what's awesome is you can clearly articulate from here forward to everyone, kind of your big thing and what you're doing, why you're doing it, and
Right.
in a way that you've gone through this process and distilled it down, and you can get it down to that one tweet
Yep.
even, which I would bet most people cannot do,
It's really hard, and I have a process that I work through with people to get down to that, and it's really fun. If you can, my usually thing is usually at the end, if you can keep asking, but why, you
Mhm.
haven't got it yet, right? It kind of needs
Right.
to be like a one sentence. Not that you
Yeah.
don't want to know more about it, but if you kind of go to the end, you're like, I don't really get it, then it's not there yet. And then
Yeah.
you can use all that process that we go through. And most TEDx events will have like a 6 month or even year-long lead in that you do all of this work about finding, and being able to articulate your hows and whats and whys that you can then use in every other area of your business and forever talk that you do from then on.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. That seems like a worthwhile endeavor for sure. So, well, Tessa, thank you so much. For again taking some time out of your day. If you want to get in touch with Tessa, you can do that right here within the community. Just send her a DM. Alternatively, her LinkedIn profile will be included in the post below. And again, it's really cool. You're giving me some things to think about. Just if nothing else, that exercise of going through the process, I think, would reap a lot of benefits over long term. So thanks again, Tessa.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Andrew.
All right, enjoy your day.